Addicts, Raggedy Doctor here, and this podcast is brought to you by, well, you, the listeners, and our wonderful community. You can go to our Patreon page or to our website, AAAPodcast.com/join to help support the show. Your generosity helps keep the podcast ad-free, and you get access to exclusive content like Hobby Addicts and Hentai episodes, as well as the show notes and our undying love. Again, that's AAAPodcast.com/join to support the podcast, as well as get free access to our Discord server. Hope to see you there, and now it's time for the show.
何よ、アニメアディクツアノニマスのライブブロードキャストやってるって言ってるでしょ。聞きなさいよね。You are listening to the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at AAAPodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Peak outdated, Kino overrated, Shonen activated. That's right, this is Shonen Showdown Takes Over AAA Podcast. I have a lovely crew here with me today to help make your anime addiction and your shonen brain rot worse. First up, we have my eternal Shonen Showdown co-host, Lady Emery. What is happening?
Yo, the little gremlin gave me a cold. I'm stuck in a blizzard, but happy to be here. And we also have Andrew's in the house.
Straight from the classroom back to your house room. It's me, Andrew. I'm working on it.
And your favorite cop and mine, Detective Otaku. What is happening?
What's up? I was fighting crime till 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, but I would never miss the opportunity to talk horse girls with some of my favorite peoples. Let's go.
That's right. We have a pretty stacked episode today, but before we get into all that, make sure you do the things. You subscribe on the places, the Twitters, the TikToks, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, but most importantly, you got to go to the Discord. Discord is where we have plenty of things like Anime Club. It happens every other Wednesday at 9 p.m. The most recent one was a My Hero Academia Vigilantes watch-along, which was pretty fitting for our most recent Shonen Showdown episode where we talked about My Hero Academia. I do not know what the next one is about, to be fair, so I'm sure it's going to be fantastic, so check that one out. But yeah, join the Discord. Today, though, we are talking a few things. First, our main topic is the Dream Toonami block. That's right, we're going to be going through our different, blocks for Toonami or whatever the Canadian version of Toonami was. I can't remember. Andrew will probably tell me right now.
We did not have a name for it. It's like Annie Weird or something like that. We didn't. It was just like the anime block on YTV was probably what most people knew it for. And then on our other cartoon channel, they just showed anime whenever they felt like showing anime.
They should have done that more often. Additionally, today, we are also going to be doing a review of Uma Musume Cinderella Gray, which, that's the only reason I got up today was to talk about the horsey girls. It's going to be a good show. I'm very excited for what we have to offer. And I think if we have no other housekeeping to take care of, it's time to talk some big news.
Oh, 大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
We only have one big news, so it truly is big news. Who wants to take it? Nobody? No one wants. You gonna make me do it?
Well, it would be fitting if either you or M took this, because there is nobody on this podcast that has the love for our boy Luffy and his crew like you two do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you have to take it. You're the captain of the crew, and you're the leader of the One Piece cult. I mean, pirates.
Yeah, of course, obviously. No cults here. So yes, One Piece has passed 600 million copies sold milestone, which is pretty big. It is now, if I remember correctly, tied with or has just barely surpassed Superman as the highest selling comic property of all time, even though Superman has like a 70-year head start on One Piece. So to commemorate this, as well as to commemorate the One Piece live action that has come out this past week, Oda decided to actually write down the ending to One Piece and has sunk it to the bottom of the ocean. What do we think of this?
Well, didn't you already point out that people are trying to decipher where it is? Like they're like, thank you. Yes, it was our detective, of course, our detective unearthed that people are already trying to triangulate and figure out, okay, like if the Japanese like sailed this way, and like if I look at the ocean and I do the math, this is where it's located.
Listen, it took the One Piece community 6 hours from the time of this man's announcement to basically say, it's like that meme from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he's like pointing at the board, but it took him 6 hours to be like, we don't know exactly where it is, but we're pretty fucking sure it's right there.
I'm pretty sure they've triangulated it at this point. I would be surprised if they have not at this point.
Well, I'm sure they've already started diving.
I mean, I know iShowSpeed, a pretty big streamer and known One Piece fan, was talking about getting a crew of 20 to 50 people together to go and go diving for the answer. I have the video tagged in our show notes, so for people who join the Patreon, get our extra content, part of that is the show notes. The video is there. I personally do not want anyone to find this answer at all.
Do you think he actually put the answer, or do you think he put something in there akin to friendship all along was the One Piece? Or do you think it's like a piece of the puzzle, and he's going to drop even more pieces into the sea, and it's going to work like a puzzle map or something?
I think it's just a massive troll. What they're going to do is put all this time, money, and effort into it. They're going to find this little chest, and when they open it, it's just going to be a picture of Luffy doing the one eye closed while pulling the other one down with his tongue out.
Ooh, that would be good. Oda is a big time troll, and he loves things. He loves to go out there with this comedy. I could also see it being the true answer, but without having previous context of the story, will make no sense.
I also believe that when you open the treasure chest, it plays in an endless loop Luffy's Mina Mina song from Skypiea.
Or Binks's Brew.
I was thinking Binks's Brew. Yeah, I like that.
Binks's Brew's a good one, too.
Andrew, any thoughts? You gonna go diving?
No, I found out about this yesterday. It was ridiculous and silly, and the only thing that's stopping people from actually doing this is that it's at the bottom of the ocean. So what I told my friend is, the anime nerds basically have to get James Cameron into finding out what the One Piece is, so he'll build a sub and actually dive down deep enough, so we don't get another ocean whatever discovery.
So you don't want an ocean gate?
No, we don't want that.
Because we don't need less One Piece fans. Maybe less billionaires, but not less One Piece fans.
What about billionaire
Unless that
One Piece
billionaire's
fans?
a One Piece fan, he should have known better. Then he should have known better.
Oh, jeez. But One Piece just continuing to get bigger and bigger and better. I'm here for it. I'm excited for the new season that's dropping, because technically season 2 is coming out. Yeah. Speaking of shonen goodness, shall we move on to our hefty main topic?
Yes, please.
So, the main topic is Dream Toonami Block. I am going to give very mild credit to Prezomo from the Discord. because he did genuinely submit a mailbag. You can submit the mailbags at our website, aa.com/mailbag, asking us what our dream Toonami blocks would be. But this topic was already settled on timestamps. I have the timestamps. I have the receipts before Perzomo submitted it. So this was not your idea. I'm claiming this isn't my idea. But I will give you some credit because you know what? You deserve it because you're a good guy. I like you, Perzomo. So we have expanded that a little bit, though, because we have not just Toonami. We've also added Saturday morning as well as the Adult Swim block. But if you want the Adult Swim block, you're going to have to join us in our after party, which you can get at our Patreon, because that's some after hours topics. But we will be going through our Toonami blocks, our Saturday morning blocks. I think the way we're going to do this is we're going to go one by one through the blocks, through each time slot, saying what our show would be for that time slot, as well as why. And I think I am happy to kick us off for Toonami. The time block was 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It aired on Cartoon Network for many, many years until it was canceled, then revived, then moved again. It's still around. It's still great. It's one of the first exposures a lot of us got to anime. Maybe not someone who's a bit on the older side. Maybe they got a different experience for it. If you can't see Otaku what he's doing in this audio only medium, you should join us for our streams every Sunday at 10 a.m. At 4 p.m. I have Dragon Ball Z Kai, because you gotta kick it off just right. You're running home from school. You need the hypest of hype, and you also need it slightly edited because, let's be honest, the original Dragon Ball Z had some pacing issues, so we're going with the Kai version to fix that up.
Now, I know Mr. One Piece isn't slandering people about pacing.
But there's nothing wrong with One Piece pacing. What are you talking about? There's no war in Ba Sing Se. That's my first slot. I think it's a pretty easy one. I'm sure most of us have Dragon Ball somewhere, but I'm leading it off with that.
Yeah. I think Otaku, you should go next because I want you guys to fight.
Fight? Oh yeah! Oh my God! I just scrolled down and saw what you have.
I do, but we're not going with Kai. No. We are going with the original, the pure, the 5 consecutive episodes of screaming to build up to one good energy burst. Because those of us who watched Dragon Ball Z through Toonami, we had to suffer. We had to go through every painstaking step to watch Goku achieve Super Saiyan for the first time, to watch the Cell games to their completion. So it is almost a rite of passage, nay, a requirement. We are not Kaiing this shit. We are watching raw, unfiltered, original Dragon Ball Z. If you want to see Goku turn Super Saiyan, you got to turn in for at least a bare minimum of 72 hours of pure screaming to achieve that. And I will die on that hill. But Dragon Ball Z, as a franchise, that has to be the Kickstarter, the gateway drug, if you will.
I think I'm going to throw it to Friggy next, because I think I would also agree with as another good one that's not Dragon Ball. So I'm gonna throw it to Friggy for his.
So I think Otaku misunderstands. Otaku's selling it lightly. This is actually just a punishment ritual, just going through original Dragon Ball Z. Because not only did you have to wait 5 episodes for him to try to turn Super Saiyan, is that the dubbing process was so slow that they wouldn't even be caught up, that you'd have to go and restart from when, Raditz shows up for the first time and get all the way back to that arc. Luckily, it was like 2 to 3 episodes a day they were showing, so it wasn't always so slow, but it was crazy. As for my pick, so when I was going through this in the last 20 minutes, because I'm really bad at making my notes, I was thinking about, all right, what defines the afternoon Toonami block, right? What are you trying to achieve? And I think when you go through all the shows I have here, you'll understand the thought process. I'm going through the first one, don't worry, I'm not going through the whole list. But the idea is that, okay, this is the 4 o'clock show, right? This is actually probably the worst spot for the show. But, I don't care because it should just force your school to get you home faster. And this show is Pokemon. It's a perennial favorite. It is a classic. It's been going on forever. There's tons of episodes. And what you want to do is just get home, watch some Pokemon. It's something nice, something comfy, something to chill to as you're getting back home. And you don't really need to pay too much attention to it because a lot of basically the same things happen. And a lot of the Pokemon battling usually happens towards the latter half. So even if you miss the first 5 minutes, you're going to be fine. And that's pretty good. You know, the kids get home, you settle in, you're all perfect, and you can sit in front of the TV and you're like, it's Pokemon, and now I'm all caught up. And yes, when you get to my second point, I did do this on purpose.
Which I figured, and I don't disagree. I think it's a good lead off as well. Emery, you went a little not traditional, so what do you got for us?
I went with One Punch Man, preferably just season 1. Just repeat that, just on a loop. Don't even bother with the other two. I don't mind season 2, but season 3 it's hard on the eyes. I went with this because I remember being a kid sick at home where you'd have the moments of cable TV where it was just Maury on or other shows like Maury, and you just kind of be in a sleep sickness haze, and then you'd get to that sweet after school Toonami goodness. And this is my comfort show. One Punch Man season 1 especially, and like I said, season 2 works for 2. This is the show I watch when I want to be cozy and sick. The other reason I picked this is if you have a kid who either missed the bus or if you were a kid that had an after school event, I would always get so mad that I missed my DBZ update because then I couldn't figure out where in the plot I was because they were always screaming. So, spoiler alert, I stuck my DBZ later to make sure everyone is home in time to be able to watch it. But this was something where it's like, it doesn't matter. You come in when you want to. You don't really need to follow by the numbers like what happened last time. It's nicely episodic and it's comfy, but it still is full of punches. So, One Punch Man, preferably season 1.
Nice. I mean, I think your logic is sound. For me, my next slot at 4:30, I put Inuyasha. The reason being that we have to give something for the ladies, and Rumiko Takahashi knows how to speak to both the guys and the gals. So I think this fits pretty nicely. I actually had Sailor Moon here for a hot second. For the same reason, I did want to give something to the ladies, but then I realized if you're following DBZ Kai with Sailor Moon, you're getting a big fall off in viewership. So I think this is a good way to still retain that same viewership, but get the same goal that I wanted.
So here's a question. What are you going to do about the swearing? In the sense that all kids tend to be watching it. And I only know this because I learned the word bastard from Inuyasha, which is why it was at the late night slot for Adult Swim.
This is true, and I think they have put some, especially in recent years, they've put more PG-13 type shows in this slot. I think they can get a little creative with the overdubbing to remove a few of those if need be. Let's go. Let's keep the same order. Otaku, what do you got next?
Okay. So I know this might be a little bold, but it's no less violent than Emery's One Punch Man. So I chose Demon Slayer because I approached this homework assignment as what are the anime that I believe would serve as the gateways to leading you to want to look deeper. And I chose Demon Slayer. One thing you cannot deny is its visual pull. Some people like to criticize it for the story. I personally think it's a great story. Who doesn't love a good brother just wants to protect his sister story? And I, having a little sister myself, I could have used some positive inspiration because I know I largely tormented mine. So I needed a better example of taking care of my younger sister. So, but Demon Slayer, peak shonen, and I think sticking it right there in that 4:30 slot, it's not so much a palate cleanse as just building off of the rage and screaming of the prior 30 minutes with Dragon Ball Z. So
I like
that's
it.
where I would.
You're building your shonen mountain versus
Exactly.
having peaks and valleys. You're just gonna build it up.
Nice. Speaking of keeping in the same sense, Friggy, you have your 4:30 show is a little similar to your 4 o'clock show.
Yeah, so the 4 o'clock show, that's a show you can sort of miss the little bit of the first part if you really need to, like you're stuck in traffic on the way home or your bus came late or all that kind of stuff. But by the time the 4:30 show rolls around, you're pretty much settled in, you're relaxing, and you want to have some fun. So we're going to watch Digimon, right? And this is the 4:30 block on, what is it? Toonami,
Yeah, Toonami,
right?
yeah.
Toonami block. Yeah, so you can watch. It can be any of the Pokemon. It can be the original. Digimon. It can be the original first season all the way up to Beat Break, and that is what you're gonna get. The Toonami block isn't to show you new things. It is basically to show you just a time sink that you can enjoy until supper time. And what better shows that have tons of episodes, are fun, very similar. But Digimon's a little bit more serialized, so you don't want to be missing too much as well. So yeah, that's why I went with Digimon.
Solid, and it's a nice hour chunk too of a similar feel, which I like.
Oh yeah.
And Em, I think you have a similar kind of feel good hour chunk is what is the vibe I'm catching from yours.
You're right. Yeah, I thought about this more of like you hate when your parents come after a half hour to check in on what you're watching and it's inappropriate. Spy X Family should hopefully be relatively like nice and cute where they can be like, oh, it's like about a mom and a dad and a kid. And you're like, yep. And a borf. And you can just move past it. But it's just a happy show. It's good vibes. It still has its emotional moments. It still has some shonen elements along with kids of any age. You can aspire to, be an assassin or a spy, or you can just look at a cute little borf running around and enjoy doggo time. But yeah, I for some reason was really thinking of that painful moment when your parents would come in and say, what are you watching? And the worst part of the anime is up, and this one has probably some moments thinking of like when Yor is drunk and stuff. But
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, for the most part, it should be pretty wholesome. And the OP is such, like, all of the OPs have been such a bop that it's just good vibes.
It's good vibes all around. When you said your parents walking in, like they're 100% walking in on a Yor is drunk scene or one of the murder scenes. That's just the luck of it.
Probably.
For me,
After that, I was just gonna say before we step into it, how old were each one of you when Toonami or anime really started airing? I'm
tough
curious.
because Toonami was 2003, 2004, I believe, was when it first started, which would have made me 13ish, 12ish. But I've been watching like VHSs of Dragon Ball Z since I was like 6 or 7.
And for me, I started with a VHS of Slayers because I thought it was just a cartoon. Yep, I thought it was that was my first. But I also watched Card Captors on the WB back when they had, and that was the 4Kids. So that's where I got the One Piece rap drilled into my brain.
Which we'll get into our Saturday mornings in shortly.
So truly getting into anime, 8th grade. With Inuyasha, with the manga of Inuyasha. That's where I knew what it was. When I didn't know what it was, when I just thought it was a cartoon, Slayers on VHS, as well as Card Captors, and there's one other one that appeared on the W. Well, obviously One Piece did, but like
there's tons of them, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my 5 o'clock is going to be easy, quick. It's Demon Slayer. This is where I slotted it in. I think it's just a nice flow from Inuyasha, and then same reasons Otaku said it belongs in the Toonami block, no question. That's easy for me. So we'll move on. Otaku, what's your 5 o'clock?
So, this is what I consider to be my palate cleanser. So after 1 hour's of pure rage and violence, we're gonna give you a little bit more violence, but we're gonna sprinkle in a lot of friendship in between, and that of course leads us to Hunter x Hunter. You can't have your foundational blocks without Hunter x Hunter. I say what you will about the final arc. Maybe it was a little long. Maybe I thought it was just fine. But watching Gon and Killua do their thing, it's just it belongs there in my opinion. You can't have that foundational block without those two.
I would not have, without having the answers in front of me, just from your description, I would not have guessed Hunter x Hunter was what was coming up next, because I remember Hunter x Hunter being quite violent. But I mean, I don't disapprove of it in this area of the block. I think it fits perfectly fine. I just wasn't expecting that from your description.
Raggedy is very familiar on how I feel about Hunter x Hunter.
Yes. For those of you at home who don't know, Lady Emery hates Hunter x Hunter, thinks it's trash, thinks it's the worst character writing that's ever happened. Come at her in the DMs as well as on Discord.
Please don't. Please don't. No, oh my gosh, there's so much more. There's so much more around this. There's so much more around it. It's more just gone. I'm just not his fan. Killua was great. I love Killua.
Right,
He's great.
Before Otaku murders you and has to then arrest himself, Andrew, what do you have in the 5 o'clock?
Oh yeah, you got God. It reminds me how old I am sometimes when I talk to you youngins. Yeah, I was watching Toonami on my visits to the U.S. Back as early as even 99.
Well, 99.
98?
Those that I mean, the Toonami block officially, I don't think wasn't until 2003.
No, I mean
maybe I'm wrong.
No, it is. I'm looking at the Toonami wiki. Okay.
I'm probably.
I may not have done my research in advance, but I'm really good at researching on the fly. Okay. Because I was like, you said 2003, and I'm like, I feel like I was watching stuff like Gundam Wing and early Gundam on Toonami when I would visit before 2003, because I graduated in 2000. Well, for you, I would have graduated in the equivalent of 2005. So I was just like, no, that can't be right. But yeah, no, it actually does. I think I was watching Toonami back in the day when I would visit every weekend. So I would see, it wasn't the weekly block. I think they started introducing that a little bit later.
Maybe there's probably something
as a
that,
whole,
yeah.
But they would just show Toonami and whatnot. It was more of the late night block before they called it Adult Swim. I think Toonami had the Adult Swim. Toonami had that name. Anyway, my 5 p.m. slot is the slot where, okay, well, we've settled in, we're back home, we've been sitting for a little bit too long, and we need to get the juices flowing. So I put in sports show. I don't know what sports show I put in as a placeholder, Haikyuu, because it has a bunch of episodes that works for the weekly format at this point. But a sports show. It could even be Captain Tsubasa. It could be Kuroko no Basuke. It could a sports show. It gets people pumped and flowing. It has a bunch of long bits where they're just sort of like getting into it, and then they're like, yeah, let's go. I want to play some sports after I eat food and do homework and all that kind of fun stuff. So I put in a sports show.
I like it. Emery, what do you have for the 5 o'clock slot?
I put in My Hero Academia. I thought this was, again, instead of going the otaku route of building the mountain, I think I had a valley in there, and so this is kind of rebuilding it back up. I also recently talked to my friend whose kid had just wrapped up watching some Demon Slayer and asked, oh, what's next on their watch list? And they were watching My Hero Academia, so it seemed to fit really well, especially because it's wrapped up. We don't have the replay issue that Fridge was talking about that is drilled into my memory of getting to a certain point in Dragon Ball Z and then having to start all the way over. It's nice that we know that there can be an ending or there can be a succinct path forward, I guess, without too much redoing of that. Plus you have Vigilantes is still going on, so if you need new My Hero Academia material, you have spin-off shows.
Or the movies. But that's for special occasions.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know, that's if Toonami's taking a break. Maybe if Tom needs a break, just throw on a movie.
Special Friday premiere or Friday block. Okay, I think we can round out our Toonami blocks. My 5:30, the one we end with, I went with because we needed some mecha in here. Mobile Fighter G Gundam, the shonenest of shonen mechas. The other reason I put this for the 5:30 slot is because I don't know about you guys, but this was dinner time around here, so you're not always catching all the episodes. Mom doesn't understand that you need to watch every episode in order to know what's happening. And luckily for G Gundam, you don't need to watch every episode to know really what's happening. You can skip a few, you can miss some, you'll be fine. So I think this slots nicely in for 5:30, where you're getting your mecha, you're getting your shonen fun time, but you're also not missing too much if you miss an episode.
Nice.
Otaku, you're 5:30.
Okay, so just for context, when Toonami launched in 1997,
On March 17th, from what I just checked. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Gosh, you guys are just sitting here Wikipediaing each other. Like,
Yes.
my God.
I may or may not have graduated high school by the time that started. So I was a little less concerned with timing of things because, you know, all VHS players back in the day had the option to record on a timer. But right around that time...
Bringing me back to those times. I totally forgot about doing that.
I'm going to hit you with a little deeper cut because technology was progressing and we started to see the introduction of TiVo. TiVo was also a big help in managing your load because I wasn't worried about homework and dinner. I was probably already at work at that time. So I needed some recording assistance, but I wanted my original block to finish off strong. So that is why we're going to finish off our initial block with some Bon Kai. And that would be Bleach. Because surely you don't have anything bad to say about Bleach. That is Shonen Mountain. Of course you do.
I love Bleach.
Of course you do. Now let me guess. Was your original crush from that show perhaps a certain ice boy?
No.
You have to remember that M is normal horny. Emphasis on the normal, we swear.
I technically so Raggedy knows my like true crush on there, but there was somebody before that, and so I'm curious if you can guess who the original OG crush was.
If you're normal horny.
Well, while you think, I'll fill in the listeners that we do have our first retrospective we did on Shonen Showdown, which I think was our 4th episode, was on Bleach. So we did go into great detail. So Em and I are definitely big Bleach heads.
Yes. So to put it in perspective, my original anime crush was Sesshomaru. When I originally watched Naruto, I loved Itachi. So who fits in the brotherly role that got introduced, I think, episode 19? It's Rukia's brother. It's my original crush was Byakuga, and my current one is Grimjaw. I love me some Grimjaw.
She can fix him, she swears.
I swear.
All right.
That's why Ace came out of nowhere, man. That's why Ace being number 1 husbando, kind of mind-blowing.
He's too good he's too pure for this world. Just look at him. Look how nice he is right there. Anyway, Friggy, what do you have for your 5:30 slot?
So I said I had a whole plan to this, and I just said screw it at the end. I put Gal Gaigar because I was reminded of the show recently. It's an oldie show. It looks fine, but it's hot-blooded. And I just said, fuck them parents, you know? Your kids are going to be hyper at dinner and after watching Gal Gaigar, because that show's about guts and solving problems through guts and courage and smashing glass.
There is nothing wrong
a lot of fun.
With ending strong.
A lot of fun. Your kids will be hyper after watching this show, and they will have a problem sitting still at the dinner table, and I will have accomplished my mission of just giving you a Toonami block.
Yep, nothing wrong with ending strong. Speaking of which, Em, you're ending pretty strong.
Yeah, I'm ending with Dragon Ball Z. I did forget that is right around dinner time. Hopefully, because I'm going with Dragon Ball Z and not Kai, you can just skip a certain screaming episode if you need to. But I am building up to the ultimate Dragon Ball Z, the ultimate shonen.
Nice.
So get your kids home from that after school activity. You missed the bus, come on in. It's okay. Maybe a late dinner. Enjoy the show.
Nice. I think for the sake of expediency, we're going to do our Saturday mornings as groups. We'll do the hour with a quick explanation for why we put each in its slot. So my Saturday morning is starting off. I did all of mine, which helps that I did them as like an hour block of similar types of stuff. So my first hour block for Saturday morning, we're starting off with One Piece, followed by Shangri-La Frontier. And that's because the true fans are going to be up early enough to make sure they're catching every single episode in the morning, following along, not missing a beat. And, you know, there's no better way to start your day than with some good adventure. So we have One Piece and Shangri-La Frontier both fulfilling that. A little more of an old school original big three, and then newer school isekai-esque type of show. Both with good dubs as well.
Nice.
Otaku, what are you starting the morning off with?
So, I crafted my first hour. You could call it the row block, if you will, a row block of time. We're gonna start off with Beast King Go Lion, or if you younger kids would know it as Voltron. But I'm talking the original Voltron, not the chopped and screwed North American version where Sven gets knocked unconscious and the princess has to take over for him. But he's okay. He got hit by a giant robot, but he's just unconscious. No. Beast King Go Lion Sven is dead. Very, very dead. And that's going to be followed up by the number one space opera in my eyes because of my age. And that's going to be Macross, or as they called it when it launched, Robotech. Now keep in mind, both of these shows originally aired in 1985. So this was my generation's, like if you're Gen X, like bottom of Gen X, early millennial, these would have been your gateway anime. These were the first true anime conversion shows that they brought over here. And I really think it laid a strong foundation for future anime fans such as myself, because I never stopped. So the row block, the original block, and there's all robots, all big giant robots fighting, and it's peak.
Yeah, I definitely remember watching the butchered Voltron when I was a kid.
No, Sven's fine. Sven is fine.
He's fine.
He took a punch from a massive robot. He is just a little scratched. Fine.
Andrew, you did some extra credit. I don't know where you want to start because you went all the way to 6 a.m.
I cheated because what you kiddos today didn't realize is the block may have started at 8 a.m., but when you're a kid, you are not waking up at 8. You are up before then, and you want to watch TV before your parents get out of bed? These are the shows you're watching. Also, I figured a lot of lists would be the similar, so this is where I put all of the old shows. Okay, so I can go through these pretty quickly.
Yeah, slam us.
I say all the old shows. So my first, before my 1 hour block for the Saturday morning block, you know, the true Saturday morning, I did a 2 hour thing. So I did Samurai Pizza Cats at 6 a.m. Okay, because that show is ridiculous. It's bonkers, and I'm speaking specifically about the dub version. Don't watch the subbed version because it is not the same. The dub version is just silly. So Samurai Pizza Cats, fun show, really silly. Also, I used to wake up at 6 a.m. and watch Samurai Pizza Cats at Saturday mornings. Actually, it's probably one of the first animes I watched at the age of like 4, not knowing it was anime probably. But that's when that shit was over here. Then, you know, your classic Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon, because, you know, that's when it's a good time. People are still waking up and they're pretty passive watching shows for the most part. And then, because I like to talk about random shows that nobody seems to talk about anymore, but I have a weird love for. Just like how I end with Gao Gaigar, I want to end this block with Power Stone. It's stupid, it's ridiculous. It is clearly a budget anime with a lot of reuse sequences, but it is a fun, silly show. And yeah, it fits in an afternoon block, so why not fit in a morning block? And now for my first morning block, the first hour of my morning block, I said, let's do Captain Tsubasa. Also, you can insert any sports show here, right? Kids are waking up, they're full of energy. and you kind of want to get them into the whole vibe of like, all right, it's going to be an interesting morning, and so we're just going to give them a sports show, get them want to be active, and that way if they have to go do other things, they can do other things. But if they don't, then they're going to want to feel like they're going to want to do other things when the show is done. And then I follow it up with Baka and Tess Summon the Beast. School is boring. School can suck, especially when you're young, okay? What you want is to make school seem like it can be fun, because it's Saturday. You may have to think about school coming up on Monday, but what if school was like Baka and Tess, where actually doing well in school meant you had a really powerful like partner that fought other people for supremacy? That sounds like it could be a lot of fun, and it sort of gets you thinking, well, I do have homework I gotta do later. You know what? Maybe I'll try a little bit more, but you'll already forget about it by the time you get through the rest of the block. But it's there for just the idea of maybe one day you could.
Whew. Take a breath. That was a lot. That's a solid morning. Em, can you follow that up with what do you got?
I remember waking up at 6 a.m. to watch Zoids. Does anyone else?
Ooh, I almost
Zoids?
put Zoids instead of G Gundam on mine.
I almost, I should have done that. But that was because for some reason it appeared at 6 a.m. There was some show either I didn't want to watch, so then I'd wait for 8 a.m. and then I would obviously start. Anyways, I am going to just be very, I guess, quick and simple with mine. I started at 8 a.m. with Sailor Moon. Hear me out. I was an early morning kid to start watching cartoons, and a lot of my other friends who were girls tended to get up earlier than our guy friends, and so I just stuck Sailor Moon here in case if others want to watch it, great. But then what quickly follows thereafter is Slam Dunk. This is maybe a selfish pick. I just recently, it was either this year or in December, watched the Slam Dunk movie and loved it. And so this is something that I, as like an adult, want to sit down and watch with my kid if it was on. So I thought that was nice. It's an older one. It gets talked about a lot on, obviously, the podcast. And so, yeah, why not just go from fighting evil by moonlight to basketball?
Basketball by daylight. Nice. All right. My 9 a.m. hour block, I'm calling this the budget Pokemon hour. I have Zatch Bell and Metabots, which if you guys haven't heard of these shows, Zatch Bell is basically partnering up with a puppet-like creature that you can do magic spells with, and it's very, it's a battle where you're battling with your pseudo Pokemon creature. You're not catching them all, but you're fighting with your one true partner. Similar with Metabots, it's that, but it's the mini mecha version. Both fantastic older shows that are often forgot about. The dub for Metabots is a ton of fun as well. So those are ones that I would go with next. Otaku, what's your 9 a.m. slot looking like?
My 9 a.m. slot is, I had my early morning get you waking up with some robots fighting, but this next hour I kind of think of it as a let's get real hype. Let's really wake you up. So I put Haikyuu at the 9 o'clock block because, a lot of early morning sports kids, you're starting to get warmed up. You probably have a game at 10 or 11, something like that. So I put Haikyuu at 9 o'clock. Let's get hype. And then just because I recency bias, this is where I stuck Solo Leveling at 9:30. It's just, this whole block is, its sole intent is to just basically level you up for the day, get you on your feet so that you can start just getting that vibe going. And I know that some people have mixed feelings about Solo Leveling, but I still think it has some of the hypest moments of recency, and that's why I stuck it in my get hype hour. So
nice. I think Andrew's a little grabbing something.
No, I was trying to find my Zatch spell book.
I figured you were. I thought you were looking for a Metabots. That's what I would have bet on.
I don't know where my Metabots little figures are. But I basically I made a Zatch spell book out of boredom once.
Nice.
And I got some. I think I have 2 of the Zatch Bell puppets somewhere as dolls, and probably in a bin somewhere. I didn't watch it that religiously. I thought it was a fun concept. My 9 a.m. block is pretty basic. It's One Piece and Pokemon. One Piece and Pokemon. You know what? You're One Piece, because let's be honest, some of these kids aren't waking up until 9:30 or 9:15 anyway. And One Piece is the kind of show where literally the first half is basically the last half of the previous episode. So if you're not really missing too much, so it kind of works out. You'd only be missing out on the One Piece wrap, which is, hey, if you want to miss out on that, that's on you. Maybe it'll incentivize you to wake up earlier. And then Pokemon is Pokemon. I would say I would probably put this more towards, because Saturday morning is when the new episodes are supposed to come out of shows, right? Monday through Friday is the reruns or the longer running shows where they have so many episodes. But this is the one where you're sort of bringing out the new episodes. And you'll see that with some of the other shows I'm bringing out as well. But so this would probably be the newer seasons of Pokemon. Like, I forget what it's called. But like the
Sun and
season,
Moon.
this is where you would put that.
There's Sun and Moon, I think. There's
No, it's the one where they changed the main character.
Frontiers or whatever.
Yeah,
I know
it
what
would be
you're
that one essentially.
Nice.
That's what I would lean towards.
Gotcha. All right, M, what's your 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock is going to be for Dr. Stone. I am leaning on learning. Science is cool. Like that was always kind of fun to have that. Less so with anime, but more so I'm thinking like in the same realm of Bill Nye the Science Guy, Magic School Bus. Like that was always brought a joy to learning for me. And my 9:30 slot is what my daughter, thanks to Raggedy, calls boats now, which is One Piece. So for those who don't know, Raggedy's daughter originally called it boats. My daughter has now picked out that concept, and that is what it is forever known as in our house. It's a nice midway point. Everyone is done with breakfast. If you have an early bird like my wee one, they're done with snack time as well. So everyone can just sit down and enjoy boats.
You'll love to see
and
it.
Maybe learn some life lessons along the way. Who knows?
That flows pretty nicely into mine, because my next hour is, I call it the get excited hour, to motivate you to get up and do something, be it learning, 10 a.m. Dr. Stone for me, or 10:30 with Kuroko no Basket. We'll talk about it in the review, possibly the best shonen sports show, or is it Cinderella Gray? We'll see. This is Kuroko no Basket is it's a shonen battle anime where basketball is the magic system. It's a ton of fun. I can't recommend it enough. Otaku, what do you got?
So I built my next block around what I call dark-haired protagonist fun. And this is where I stuck One Piece. One Piece is going to be at 10 a.m. because that's a show that I want being able to touch all my age demographics. If I'm a network exec, I want the kids that are already awake to be able to watch it. I want the preteens that are awake to watch it. And I certainly want my young and older teenagers who are just waking up to get into the groove of things. And One Piece is the perfect place to stick that in there. And keeping with an alternating of sports and shonen, we are going to put in Shohei Ohtani before he ever existed. And that's going to be what I would argue is the greatest baseball anime ever produced. And that would be Major. Just phenomenal show. And they're both strong, dark-haired protagonists. Luffy and, of course, Major as well. And they're both have those friendship and overcoming, and it's just a great block. 10 and 10:30. It captures all the age groups. Let's fucking go.
I think it's really funny that not only, even though we had 3 different blocks to choose between, we all put One Piece on Saturday, and we put it like it was 8, 9, 9:30, and 10 between the 4 of us. That's good. All right, Andrew, what's your next hour looking like?
Yeah, so the 10 a.m. block is essentially this is where you're sort of, if you have things to do that day, this is when people are sort of starting to maybe figure out or get ready for that. So, and I put in a couple of shows that are more of the, sillier, more fun variety. So I put in Witch Watch, which is I've from the few episodes I've seen is just sort of a school rumble-esque kind of silly comedy show that kind of fits a Saturday morning vibe. It feels like. And then Digimon Beat Break, me going back to the focus of you should be getting new episodes of things. So this is where you'd be showing the newer season of Digimon, whereas during the week you'd probably be showing all of the older ones like Digimon Adventure 02, Frontier, Tamers. I forgot the other ones, but they exist. Uh, Ghost Game, and I forget there's one in the middle. It's like music themed. Anyway, long story short, but this is where I would put these shows, because one's a comedy. It's just after Pokemon. It gives you a break between Pokemon and Digimon, and then and Witch Watch just seems like a fun little silly slapsticky comedy show that I think people can enjoy and works probably pretty well as a dub. And you could probably make silly as a dub. And Lady Emery.
So I wanted to make sure everyone got a taste of the big three. So Bleach has to be there for my 10 o'clock. And this is the original Bleach. Again, you should become a Patreon so you can hear where I stuck Bleach 1,000 Year Blood War. Hint, hint. The other one I put in here is Haikyuu because it is hype, it is volleyball, and I really need everyone to fully understand the best meme that, again, credit to Raggedy for sending to me, but I need you to understand why the volleyball comment is so hilarious in the meme. If you want to know the meme, join the Discord. We will drop you the meme, but it is my favorite ultimate anime meme about what four real world things you can learn from anime. So, from Haikyuu, you can learn volleyball.
Yeah,
Why don't you tell us what One Piece teaches you?
Well, that's the joke, otaku. All right, let's finish off
It's
strong.
So yep.
So, at this point, last hour, 11 to 11:30, the only people left are the true shonen brain rot heads who do not care about their social life and do not care about being active. If Kuroko Basket didn't get you off the couch, then nothing will. Might as well stay and just finish off with My Hero Academia and Black Clover. Two excellent new gen, next gen shonen properties. Otaku, how are you finishing us out?
So I went a slightly different route. I felt that the kiddies are out the house by now. It's usually only the older heads and, like you said, the most diehardest of shonen. So I saved what in my eyes would be two of the more mature titles for that end of Saturday morning, but still wouldn't get kicked off of network TV. So this is where I stuck Sailor Moon, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I actually added Cross Game. Now, if you have never sat through the 54 soul-crushing, heart-wrenching episodes of Cross Game, it is another baseball anime, but it is a tale of overcoming loss and grief while also learning the fundamentals of being a team and succeeding as one. It is, but this is saved for when the older kids are probably the only ones left, and that's where I stuck that. What about you, Andrew? What did you close out your block with?
Oh yeah, so I did My Hero Academia at 11. It just seems like you said the kids who have activities are probably out of the house or about to be out of the house, so it's just whoever feels like sticking around. So it is, and My Hero is a little bit skewed, a little bit older anyway, not like crazy amount, but a little bit. And then I decided to end it out with Freerin because it's something nice and calm. And one of the things I always disliked about Saturday mornings was that, at noon it was just golf. And I felt so hyped because there's a lot of other activities you could do during the day, whatever, but just golf. And so I figured if I went into, the Saturday morning block to close it out with something that's, a little bit windy down. I haven't actually seen Freerun. I've only seen the first 3 episodes, but I feel like it's a nice, calm, fun show that still does some stuff and is, chill. It takes it at its own time and its own pace, which is what you should be doing on Saturdays. You should be taking it chill, doing things at your own pace. Sundays are for chores.
I don't understand how you fully appreciate the true beauty of Frieren for what it is, because most people were like, I've only watched 3 episodes, like, it's boring, it's not action heavy enough for me. You seem to get it, but then also stopped at 3 episodes.
So I
Yeah.
started watching
Yeah.
Frieren when it came out. So I was watching the first episodes as they aired. And so I watched the first 3 and then I just stopped because I got busy and I just haven't gone back. But I remember watching the first 3 episodes and being like, it's weird because it feels like it's slow and fast at the same time. And I enjoy it. I enjoyed it. I definitely want to finish this when it's done, kind of thing. And then, life happens.
Life do be that way. Round us out.
Yep. All right. I'm ending with Feel Goods and Big 3. So I wanted to have Mob Psycho 100 in here. I think it's good vibes again. I love you get Best Boy in there. I think it's great lessons for kids, like strength and kindness, accepting yourself regardless of what your talents or powers are. And I think that's really, really important, especially to a younger generation, just to help reinstill that empathy is important in everything else. That said, I ended with Naruto. So, maybe kind of doing that and then just going full capitalism of yeah, and I got your eyeballs because you wanted to stay to the end because you wanted your Naruto. So
Never go full capitalism.
Yep. Getting all the big 3, but if I'm being honest, the reason why I stuck Naruto at the end is the little kid who's like, I want to keep watching Naruto. Yep, stay till the end. You have to watch everything until the end.
Love it. You love to see it. That was, I'm tired. That was a lot. But wait, hold on. We still have more show to do. But I think we need a break. And if you want to catch the rest of our thoughts on these programming blocks, make sure to join the Patreon, get the after party, and listen to what our Adult Swim block is. But I think that's it. I think we've developed some good programming to keep the kids' eyeballs stuck to the screen. We have now time to go towards our news break, and who wants to lead us out?
I can do that.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, you're sick. Let us do some of the heavier lifting. Save that voice for the important stuff. Before we head to our news break,
Oop, wrong one. I'm sorry. My bad.
So we will do our in-show weekly trivia question. In Uma Musume, Cinderella Gray, the horse girl, Obey Your Master, is based off of what real-life racehorse? We'll answer that after the break.
Hey there, Anime Addicts. Raggedy Doctor here to bring you this week's and a little bit of last week's anime news break. First up, we have the announcement of a live-action Samurai Champloo adaptation being in development. That's right, Tomorrow Studios, for live-action adaptations of One Piece and Cowboy Bebop, is now working on a live-action adaptation of Shinichiro Watanabe's Samurai Champloo. The original anime debuted way back in May of 2004 and followed Samurai Mugen and Jin, who help former waitress Fu search for a mysterious samurai who smells of sunflowers. Watanabe is attached to the new project, although Tomorrow Studios did note that Cowboy Bebop was canceled for its live-action adaptation. It was also acknowledged that Watanabe wasn't that involved with the project, so hopefully this time around it does a little bit better. The project is still considered in its early development, and of note, Becky Clements, who is the executive producer for One Piece and Cowboy Bebop, mentions they plan on bringing a major artist early to help establish the show's sound, since hip-hop is such a large part of Samurai Champloo. In anime adaptation news, Hinamatsuri creator Masuo Otake's JM manga gets a TV anime announcement. The manga about an assassin called Jay and a lonely third-grade girl named Megami is getting its own television adaptation. Jay is a professional hitman considered untouchable after eliminating the syndicate that trained him. Megami is a third-grade girl who is bullied for being half American. Body swap shenanigans ensue after a literal head-on collision. Otake launched the manga in May of 2023, and Kadokawa has been publishing it since October of 2023 and will be publishing the 7th volume in March 13th. There is not much more information about the anime to come, but this is an exciting property, so we will look forward to some more announcements there. In sad news, Kyoto Animation president and co-founder Hideaki Hata has died at age 76. Kyoto Animation announced on Monday, March 2nd, that its president and co-founder Hideaki Hata had died on February 16th at the age of 76. His family held a small private funeral. His son, Shinichiro Hata, has immediately been appointed as president and CEO following his father's untimely death. Husband and wife Hideaki and Yoko Hata founded Kyoto Animation back in 1981, with Hideaki and Yoko serving as the animation studio's president and vice president respectively since the founding. Kyoto Animation is a very well-known studio, but just in case you've been living under a rock, they're known for the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, K-On!, Lucky Star, Clannad, Free, Sound Euphonium, Violet Evergarden, Liz and the Bluebird, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and most recently, City the Animation. He will be sorely missed. In more adaptation news, so what's wrong with Getting Reborn as a Goblin manga gets a TV anime. The website has opened to announce the television anime adaptation for writer Nazuna Miki and artist Tsukasa Araki's So What's Wrong with Getting Reborn as a Goblin manga. Office worker Akira is reincarnated as a goblin after getting truck-cooned while doing his best Yusuke Urameshi impression. Normally, in this world, goblins only live for 7 days, but Akira's newfound powers let him defy the species' normal lifespan and are the key to his path to becoming the strongest goblin ever. The anime is being done by Baka Studio and is set for an October premiere. Ryuta Kawahara of The Summer Hikaru Died, Orange, and 86 is set to direct, while Yuichiro Mimosa of So I'm a Spider, So What, and Africa Salaryman is in charge of the series scripts. The main cast has also been revealed, including Kikunosuke Toya as Akira, the former salaryman now reincarnated as a goblin, Yoka Mikasa as Comrade Karen, and Azusa Tachibana as Chloe, a cute little demon girl. This one is just another in the long line of reincarnated as a blank adaptations. So we will just see what happens with this one. It could go well or it could go vending machine. And finally, in con news, Anime NYC has announced a new family zone that is being presented by Scholastic. This new and dedicated space is designed for children, parents, and caregivers to experience anime and manga together. Anime NYC is a large anime convention in New York City that has been attended by some of the hosts in the past, and Scholastic is one of the largest publishers and distributors of children's books in the country. The new zone is going to be kid-first and family-focused, with programming and activities that are trusted by the partners and publishers of Scholastic. There will be hands-on experience, including drawing workshops, storytelling events, and cosplay activities. Anime NYC will take place August 20th to 23rd of 2026 at the Javits Center in New York City. Tickets, including new $15 Sunday price tickets for the kids, are available at animenyc.com/tickets. And now I have just a whole other reason to go to Anime NYC, and you know what? Listeners, I hope to see you there. I have been Raggedy Doctor, and this has been your anime news break. Now, back to the show.
In a world full of misinformation, AI deepfakes, and make-believe BS,
we thought you'd appreciate an update straight from the source.
sure, times are tough, but there's hope.
Shonen Showdown is still standing, and our mission remains the same.
To rot your brain with the power of friendship.
The anime landscape is changing by the day, but we'll keep adapting.
And we appreciate your loyalty.
So keep listening and keep the faith.
Good things come to those who wait.
Only Shonen Showdown.
On the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast.
Yo! Don't give it up, Lupe. Don't give it up, Solo. Don't give it up, Nami. Don't give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. story goes, we find out about a treasure in the Grand Line, there's no doubt. The pirate whose eye is on it, he'll sing, I'll be king of the pirates, I'm gonna be king. His name is Luffy, that's Monkey D. Luffy. King of the pirates, he's made of rubber. Yo ho ho, he took a bite of gum gum.
Welcome back to the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. It was a good break. We had a good topic, good discussion. And, we had a trivia question, which I was going to make one of the people who just couldn't do it for a second do it. So now I'm going to make Emery read it for us. Read us the answer, please.
Oh my gosh, you're making me read.
Well, I can't do it. I can't read.
In Uma Musume Cinderella Gray, the horse girl, Obey Your Master, is based off of what real-life racehorse? And the answer is not in Japanese. Thank God. The butler.
It was an American racehorse, to be fair. So.
Pay the butler.
Yeah.
All right.
But I think.
Didn't know that.
No, you didn't. But more importantly, I think we have time for mailbags.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag.
So if you would like to submit a mailbag, you can do it at AAAPodcast.com/mailbags. We actually have 2 mailbags for you today because I see your comments. I see the complaints about missing last week's episode, and there will be an explanation for it. And this week's mailbag comes to us from Wiener Worm. It says, mainly for Raggedy and Otaku, you guys got me completely hooked on Uma Musume, and I couldn't be happier. I've watched every season, movie, and even the shorts, and now I can't put the game down. Truly, thanks so much for introducing me to such a wonderful series. On to the question, which horse girl would you want to see as the protagonist in a new season? I think any of the student council members would be great, but I would sell my soul for a season with Haru Urara as the lead. She's by far the best character in the show. It's absolutely criminal how little screen time she's gotten. It would get it would be a slam dunk with the first 10 out of 10 on Mal. Thanks for taking the time to answer my question. Love the show. And thank you for submitting this wonderful mailbag. What I've said before is I want a season about Eclipse, the one that the school's motto is named after. I think that would be pretty cool to go back to a old-timey Uma Musume series and do a prequel. But if you want me to pick an actual character that we have and know about, I'm going to go with Obey Your Master. She's pretty fun and has a pretty interesting storyline that we'll talk about in the review. And, you could expand the American Uma scene as well by diving into her character. It'd be a nice spin-off. Emery, who tickles your fancy?
I am going to pick Still in Love. She, I believe, is brand new to your mobile game as of February. It was somebody that Otaku had told me about when I had asked, and so out of curiosity, I dug in. The character is fascinating. It has some mental health behavioral challenges that were reflected in the actual horse, which, again, go back and listen to that episode that Otaku and Raggedy did, where they broke this all down of how this universe works. It was great. I think it'd be fascinating to have a protagonist where you have somebody have such a myopic view of their trainer, like they only want to work with their trainer, and maybe digging into sometimes that if a sport is too toxic for you, like if something is just too much for you and you need to find love elsewhere in the sport by approaching it from a different angle. Plus, Admire Groove.
Oh my God! Come on! Really?
It was even in English. I don't know. The sickness is what got me there. But Admire Groove is a great rival. Have her go through her own mental setbacks, and maybe if this world has a version of the Twisties, that would be kind of interesting. So yeah, I've got more notes on that, so go look at the show notes if you are a Patreon member, but I think that would be a fascinating take on the protagonist approach for Uma Musume.
Are the Twisties the Yips?
Yeah, Twisties, Yips, whatever you want to call it. I call it the Twisties because that's what gymnasts call it, is the Twisties.
All right, Otaku as the OG on the show for the horse girls. What you got?
So first off, I want to say that I am very, very glad that Wiener Worm has joined the horse girl fandom. It's a ride you can't jump off of once you're on, if you catch my drift. But this was actually a hard question for me. I have trained every single one of the horse girls that I've acquired numerous times because in the game your goal is to train the strongest horse girl, and they each one have their own unique personalities and charms. But my OG that I really enjoyed training was Maruzensky. I think Maruzensky's real life story is very interesting in the fact that because Maruzensky, the horse, was conceived in America but birthed in Japan, they were seen as an outside horse. So they were not allowed to race in any of the classics. So they were only able to have 8 races total that they won. I'm sorry, 8 out of 9 races. But Maruzensky, if my research is correct, ended up being the paternal grandfather of Rice Shower, Special Week, and Winning Ticket. So they lean into in the show some of the real life connections. If you've watched the original Uma Musume anime, there's a very fun dynamic between Goldship and Meijiro McQueen. Meijiro McQueen is actually in real life the paternal grandfather of Goldship. So I would love to see Maruzensky's story get full attention, to see just how dominant she was when she was racing, but also her messing with her grandkids in some way. They always lean into it so well. So that would be a 10 out of 10 for me to watch. And I think also just the fact that she's not a lot of it, and we'll talk about it in Cinderella Gray also, but admission standards, who can race in what races, all that plays in. So that's my vote for getting their own season.
I love it. Andrew, I think you have the most exciting choice of all.
Yes. I don't play your horse girl game. I don't know about horses. I don't know.
I guarantee you there's a horse named I don't know somewhere out there. 100%. All right. Let's move on to the second question so we can get on to the review. I'll read this one again. This is from MD Jabroni. Hey, AAA, got one for Raggedy. Oh, sweet Raggedy, can you do me a favor and say something bad about One Piece and not about the pacing? Because there's nothing wrong about the pacing, obviously. Something I dislike about One Piece is they nerfed my favorite character, Usopp. How did we go from fighting Luffy with all of his gadgets, weapons, and making Nami's staff to being the most useless Straw Hat? I'm going to answer this last. I'm going to send it to Emery first.
All right. Mine is easy. Where are the good moms? We've gotten a good dad. I'm not going to spoil anything. We've gotten an incredible dad story in there. I want a good alive mom, not one that's dead. Stop killing the moms. And that's just in general in shonen. They're either dead or non-existent or doing homemaker stuff. I want like an involved good mom story. Please and thank you.
All right. Otaku?
Yeah. I feel bad for Emery. It's the curse of the Vagine. We talked about it in My Hero Academia. Yeah. It gets you killed every time.
It does. It does. You birth something and you gotta die.
Speaking of which, Em, you should probably change your hairstyle because you are rocking the dead mom anime hairstyle right now.
Mm-hmm.
And she's muted. She's dead. She's been killed.
Yep, I've been killed. I'm so glad you noticed. I was hoping somebody would pick that up because I did that on purpose.
Awesome.
So I'm not going to say specifically that pacing, like obviously there's no issue with the pacing, but I will say there's filler and then there's One Piece filler because Jesus Christ. There are anime that have not existed for 1/10 of the One Piece filler. And I think when the new anime project launches, that will help, eliminate some of that. When One Piece finally gets the Kai treatment it's always deserved. But that would be my one true negative with the show, is the filler. And I understand that they're trying to keep the manga catching up with the show catching up with the manga. But I don't need 5 episodes of Luffy and crew running around a stairwell. I just don't. So that's it. That's my beef.
Fair enough. Andrew?
I didn't read the question properly, and I just saw that Usopp is nerfed, and I'm like, no, Usopp is working as intended. He is supposed to be the weakest Straw Hat, and he does weirdly remind me of another guy called Soge King. I don't get it though, but I've never seen them in the same room, so
never once.
Weird. Honestly, yeah, One Piece. Now that I actually know what the question is, One Piece is a problem with One Piece is Skypiea. There we go.
Oh, that one hurts me.
Oh,
that one actually hurts me.
Each. I don't know if I
Yikes.
agree.
That's it.
Yikes. All right, I'll give my answer, but because first, how dare you besmirch the name of the great god Usopp, MD Jabroni? That's first. The 5-star greatest threat that Dressrosa has ever seen. Second, obviously, if you want me to say something bad about One Piece, well, it would be that it's too short, clearly. I do also want to address my co-host's complaints. We've talked about this before. The dads on One Piece are terrible. It's the stepdads that are good. So in that vein, you have the likes of Kureha and Curly Dadan to serve your mother roles, as well as real mothers like Chiffon and Makino, who don't get a lot of screen time, but they are there and they're good moms. Otaku, how much filler do you think is in One Piece? If you had to put a percentage.
Probably 20%, 25%.
8%.
I don't believe you.
You see, actually, Otaku, I think you're confusing is the fact that
filler episodes. It's true filler episodes.
Raggedy is needling you down on a specific definition of what filler is, obviously. Raggedy, do you have the number for, if you watched One Piece, how much of One Piece that removes?
The amount of time, not off the top of my head, but it is a big chunk. It's a big chunk.
I think that's what more Otaku is referring to.
No, I know exactly
you.
I know exactly what he's referring to, but I want to be a dick about it. And also, Skypiea is great. How dare you? But on to my actual answer. I will say something negative.
Talk about it on Shonen Showdown one of these days.
Don't tease me with a good time. I do miss old character designs, particularly Frankie and Robin. I'm not the biggest fan of their newer designs. I don't think Oda was either, because he went back to Robin's older design in a newer arc as well. So I do like that. And I am not a fan of Sanji's gooner habits. Sanji used to be cool, man. Like, you guys who have only seen the One Piece live action, that's what Sanji used to be like. And now he's like Master Roshi, and I don't like it.
That is one thing that I love about the live action, is they hold that back and let him just be kind of flirtatious versus gooning, to your point. Yep, it's bad.
I would argue, Raggedy, that he was never that suave. Like
he's not.
Anime manga.
Yes.
He's always been this much of a gooner.
Correct. No.
The live action has made him suave, which fits his character a little bit better.
You are correct. There is an argument, and it's very, very good argument, that he was pretending to be suave the entire time, and that like a lot of his mannerisms are what he would think someone should do, and he's holding himself back until later when he loses the ability to do that. But I still miss the earlier version where it wasn't as ridiculous, is what I'm going for. With that, we will finally now get to our review of Uma Musume Cinderella Gray. Not season 1, not season 2, but the whole dang thing, because it just wouldn't be right to review this as a individual without the other, because it really is 2 cores of a single season. Doesn't mean that we'll get to review season 3. I don't think I'll be able to sneak that one past Metsugi, but maybe I'll try. Anyway, for Cinderella Gray, Uma Musume, they are born to run. They inherit the names of horses from another world whose histories were sometimes tragic and sometimes wonderful, and run ever forward. That is their fate. No one knows how the races waiting in the futures of these Uma Musume will end, but they will continue to run, aiming only toward the goal in front of them. Uma Musume is a multimedia franchise created by Cygames, first revealed way back in 2016. It continues to grow to this day, spanning multiple anime projects, games, and more, with Cinderella Gray, the latest edition, telling the story of the legendary Oguri Kapu. You can watch it on Crunchyroll, or not Crunchyroll, that's a lie. You can watch it on Amazon Prime.
Netflix.
Well, it depends. I think it depends where you are. I watched it on Amazon Prime. I did not see it on Netflix. You can also, it was on YouTube for a while as well, but obviously this is past that. It is done by Cygames. The source is a manga. Expectations going in. M.
You and Otaku would not shut the fuck up about these horse girls. Like, you guys talked about it openly in our chat, in the Discord, in the podcast itself. So I said, fine. I'll watch it. We'll see what this is all about. And that was my expectation going in, is a lot of chatter, and I'll just see where this leads me.
Friggy?
I don't think M can tell you. I don't even think M explained the depths of your guys' discussion of Uma Musume. So much so that I don't even think it was a meme. You could even argue it was for the memes anymore, or it was a meme.
Never was.
Which is, I don't know what's more depressing to me at this point. But talking about Cinderella Gray, expectations is that I watched Uma Musume Pretty Derby, and I was pleasantly surprised by how not weird it was, given the concept, and how not gooner it was, given the concept. And so I expected pretty much just another Uma Musume, like, Pretty Derby type show. And yeah, that's the expectation I was going in. I was just expecting it to be like Uma Musume Pretty Derby, you know, just a sports show involving horse girls in a world that doesn't make any sense, but everyone just takes it so seriously, so I kind of just bought in. Anyway, that was my expectation going in.
Otaku?
I mean, you and I are on the same page here. I loved the first 3 seasons. Loved the video game. So my expectations were what they always were, which it was going to be surprisingly undercover peak shonen, really, really good racing, breakthroughs, overcoming limits, all of those shonen principles. But also, what if, and this is when someone asked me to explain Uma Musume in general to them, I said, what if a furry had an idea that was just so outlandishly crazy that it works? That is what Uma Musume is. So strap in, because it's a really fun ride.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I traced my Uma journey on episode 795 with Otaku here. So I went through kind of how I jumped around the franchise. I have, as of date now, watched everything other than the shorts because I don't need to do that. It's fine. So expectations were relatively high. My take is more that Uma Musume is, someone heard the term idol horse, because that is a thing in Japan, which is just referred to like a very famous racehorse. They call them idol horses. And someone heard that after doing a line of cocaine and was like, wait a minute, idol horse, and then just went from there. Let's before we get into spoilers itself, I do want to talk in the spoiler-free zone, but I want to hit our recommendations real quick because they do unsurprisingly align a bit. So, spoiler-free recommendation, I'm going to say, M.
This was the best gym show I've had, watched in a while. The last one I can remember that made me run faster on a treadmill was Attack on Titan Season 1 for obvious reasons, but this will get your heart rate going. So yeah, I would say seriously watch it while you're at the gym or working out. Well, working out might be hard, but if you're on the treadmill at the gym, throw this on. You'll start trying to run faster to match these horse girls.
Otaku.
I'm going to put on my best Severus Snape voice. Obviously.
Very good. Friggy.
Yep.
Yep. It's good, guys. That's the thing. It's good. And I mean, this show, let's talk story a little bit, just the basics, right? It follows Ogre Cap. She comes from, was it Kasamatsu? Was the prefecture she's coming out of, a smaller area where she is doing her whole racing journey, and we follow her as she goes from there to onto the nationals. And the first season basically covers her up to her classics year, which is real life racing horses get basically essentially three good years of racing. So this covers her first year. I was very endeared to this character. She's got the tism real bad, and it is hysterical. It's like chef's kiss. Her character, and
it's heart of goldism too. It's not it's not just stacking rocks in descending order, and it's annoying. She's so kind-hearted about it.
Well, I mean, I think the opening episode, one of the opening scenes, she gets like mercilessly bullied and doesn't even like comprehend that that's what's happening to her. Like, it just doesn't
register 1 ounce, not one.
And they do surround her with a very good cast. It's not just her. The supporting characters are all really good, from the Umas to the trainers. These are some of the best trainers I think I've seen in the franchise. I don't know. I know that Otaku and Em, you've seen a bit more than maybe Andrew. Do you disagree on that?
No, I think I actually really appreciate it. And one of my pros for the show was Musaka. He was yeah. It's Musaka. I think this one actually really incorporated true strategy, because if you play the game, you know that there's different styles of running that you can pick for the horse girls, and they actually bring that into, like, hey, you're running on a dirt track and it's this distance, so you should run a pace instead of coming from behind late or being a front runner. So I agree with you. I think that this season had definitely some of the best trainers. But one other thing that you have to appreciate about Ogre Cap as our prime protagonist, she is probably the lone female anime character that I have ever met who can go bar for bar, bite for bite with Luffy and Goku when it comes to eating.
Her eating stuff is hysterical, and that's like a pretty real thing too. Like the real horse was known for being a glutton. I know that the in-game skill is called gourmand, but let's be real, it's gluttony. There's a really funny story which I hope they pull out at some point in a future season, where the real horse gets distracted by a female horse and stops eating, and everyone thought like, oh my god, what's going on? He's not eating. This has never happened before. So I want to see them recreate that. It's great when she goes to the school, the first school, and then like completely clears out the lunchroom, and they're just not prepared. And then she shows up at the like national school at Tracing Academy, and it's like a face off between her and the chef because the chef is ready.
It was amazing.
And just to answer your question, yes, I think the trainers in this are much better than the other ones. They feel like they truly have a role, and they involve strategy, teaching, and nutrition. All of the things that I think are truly valuable, not just in horse racing, but like in sports in general, that you don't always get to see the behind the scenes of. The one thing I will say, just because you had brought up that I have seen the first 2 seasons of Uma Musume along with some shorts. The dancing is weird, especially in the first 2 seasons. You have to get used to it, and they lay off of it a lot more. However, what I will say about this is I did enjoy for Ogre Cap's dance, her original one. It's something where, unless you haven't seen the first 2 seasons to know what this is about, because if you win, you have to do a dance at the end. but it was both of something that is just touching on the Japanese like cultural bit of like a very old dance, and I can't relate it to like the hokey pokey, but I also can't quite say it's like in 1950s. It's just this like weird touchstone, but it was so incredibly funny, and just even the dance she was doing to where she later like is able to perform actual idol dances was spot on. It's what I needed, because at first when I saw she was gonna have to do the dance, it's like, oh, are we done with that? Can we just be done? But to your point, she's so funny, and she's there. She's ready to go with that dance.
This is, I think all of the Uma Musume series they're all funny. This is the funniest one. It is. I laughed out loud multiple times, even on rewatches and knowing the joke was coming. I hysterical.
It really looked like she was doing almost like calisthenics with that original dance.
Yes.
And everybody in the crowd is just dead silent, like, what is she doing? And she's just completely oblivious, just without a care in the world. She's like, yeah, this is my dance.
Living her best life. But like I said, if you don't have that background, you wouldn't know that that's hilarious. But
Yeah.
it was so funny.
Now,
it's
let
probably
me ask you
still.
this.
I would say it's probably still funny without the context, but it's just so much funnier when you have it.
When you do realize, though, that this is a prequel anime, have any of you watched season, I think it's either 2 or 3, but there's a pie eating contest, and Tamamo Cross and Okuri Cap are participating in this this pie eating contest.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yep. When
Naturally.
I first was watching this, I had to ask Gregory, when is this taking place? What is going on? And then suddenly, suddenly Onigiri was eating, and I'm like, oh my God, it's the pie eating girl. Okay, it's all clicking now. It's all clicking.
Yeah, I mean, it is it's a prequel, but realistically, none of these matter so much because they only ever really deal with people who are their like year, so to speak. Before we get into more specifics, I do want to talk about the and do like actual spoiler stuff. Let's talk a little bit about the production, the music, the art and animation. I think that this is also the best, sans the movie, the best that Uma Musume has looked, not just animation, but also art style wise. I was watching the BNW OVA, which has a bit more of Ogre Cap in it than like seasons 1, 2, and 3. And I was like, they butchered my girl. She's hideous. What did they do to my horse? I don't understand. The art is so much better now that Psy Games has taken over. The music is great. The music for the like final spurt that happens is my new ringtone because it's just so good. The production is stellar, and really it only falls short compared to the movie Beginning of a New Era.
Would agree. Although I think they changed studios between season 1 had a different studio than 2 and 3, if I'm not mistaken.
You're talking about from the original Uma Musume?
Yeah.
They changed multiple times, yeah.
Yeah, but Psy Games is just a well-oiled machine now, and this show embraced all of those things. I think they really did a phenomenal job of creating a total package anime between story, characters, music, the whole 9 yards. So, without going into spoilers, I'm right there with you.
Andrew M. Thoughts?
I really liked the animation. I will say that I saw just a little bit of the movie. I do think I'll go back and truly sit down and watch the movie because the animation was just out of this world for that. This animation is so much better than the season 1 and season 2 that I'd watched. I was very impressed. We'll get to the one. For some reason, the only aura that did not sit well with me is White Lightning. Well, we can even dig into that more with spoilers because I still am trying to unpack why that aura didn't work in comparison to the other auras that we encounter. But I overall really loved it. The music was great. I was more of a fan of the first opening than you were. The second opening, I do agree, fell flat, I will say. But the EDs are also great. Specifically, the animation for the EDs are very touching and fit well with the characters. So, yeah, I just very amazed that they were able to pull out all the stops with this animation, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a pretty well done show for the most part. You know, like the CG doesn't look too bad. It does look a little clunky during some of the idle scenes, but that's just always how CG is going to look during idle scenes. Going all the way back to Idol Master. So you kind of get past it, and they don't do too many of them for the most part. It is overall just a solid production, so it made for fairly easy watch for the most part. Yeah. I don't know if I can really say much more than that. Like, it's not doing anything really innovative, and it's not really doing anything crazy. The OPs were fine, the EDs were fine, and a lot of the animation in between was solid, which is, I guess, is saying a lot, because some of these shows just don't get any animation. But yeah, it worked, I think, and I think the aesthetic also helps in its favor in a lot of parts.
Yeah, I mean, I think coming from having watched the previous season, like watching the growth in it is also what helps make it stick out. And beyond just the animation, the cinematography is really good. Like, the camera movement is very dynamic. It makes you feel part of the race. You know, you watch season 1 of Uma Musume, and it's a lot of camera still, girls run, camera still, girls run. This has a lot more of like the sweeping camera angles, the moving side to side as they pass, the POV shots. It makes you feel more part of what's happening. I think we're good to get into spoilers. What I would say before we do is that Uma Musume, the original seasons, are kind of like more of a sports drama, whereas this is your true first. Like, this is a action sports show. So this one's going to lean more on the sports, more on the excitement and the action and the racing, whereas the original, it tends to air more on the drama around sports and being an athlete. So slightly different vibes. So if that's going to affect your opinion on the show, then obviously that gives you an idea of kind of where to start. But with that, I think we're ready to move on.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
Where do we even want to start with spoilers? Because it's all just racing.
My question is, I don't know if I feel like I don't know if I missed it in the show. Did they explain why she quits?
That is you mean Tamamo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they explain that in the show, or did I missed it, or do they just not explain? Because I read the wiki,
yeah,
and it's just like the guy just decided to retire her.
So
the horse, the real horse.
I think they tried. I mean, so skipping to the very end, obviously, it's Ogre Cap and Tamamo Cross are the big rivals throughout the 2 seasons, and Tamamo Cross at the end retires, and that's like the big deal with the Ari McKinnon. It's like the last chance Ogre Cap has to actually win. The old man is supposed to be, at least I believe he's supposed to be representative of the original trainer or owner of the horse, the real life horse. And in the real life version, the horse gets retired because the actual owner / trainer, is old and wants to see like the next generations of that line compete. So they tried to kind of do that with how he's like old and sick, and they don't say it out loud, but it clearly seems like she wants to spend time with him as he's kind of like dying. But this is one of the worst things about Uma Musume across the board, is they do not know what to do or how to end the careers of these characters.
Agreed. Yep, that's between that and it's both a blessing and a curse. I really love how they approach injuries, because I think in sports anime, one of the things you don't always see is like well done, like physical therapy, surgery, you know, like things that truly do happen. You just have them push past the injury, push past the limit. Like, yeah, you're playing with a broken shoulder. Like, you see a lot of that. And this one was like, no, you actually can't race anymore. However, then it's a double-edged sword. It's also coupled with, yeah, and then they keep racing. It's like, well, no, most of these horses, when they got injured, they went out to pasture. Like, they were done. And they don't do it well even in the seasons that I saw. In season 1 and 2, they have injuries happen to a lot of these horses, and they just go through the injury and then they come back. Or in this case, they retire and then maybe they come back. I don't love that aspect.
Yeah, and they have even ones like, Marzensky or Simbali Rudolph. They just are kind of always just hanging around, right? They're done racing. Their careers are over, but they're still at school. Like, it doesn't make a ton of sense.
That's the thing about this world I don't understand. Like, how old are these characters supposed to be? How do you make a living as a horse girl after you're, like, if you don't run? And then is, like, this whole school thing doesn't, it just, the world. Also, are there horse boys?
No.
Like, or is it just like
there's no horse boys. That's pretty
like
established.
What?
There's no male umus.
Yeah,
that's well established.
Because it's like there are regular women,
Mm-hmm.
and then there are horse girls,
Mm-hmm.
and then more horse girls are just birthed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which has implications, I guess, for a hentai episode.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the one thing about this world that's just kind of silly. And you know what? But they just play into it, right? Like the telephones are.
I love the
where
telephones.
their ears are.
They have they have separate lanes on the streets for Uma Musume, like with like the horse girls like drawn on it, like you'd see a bike path. They lean into it, and it's one of those things where it's like, to me, it's almost like the rule of cool, right? Where you can kind of get past anything if the rest of it's good enough. And yes, those are real. They're nits, so to speak. They're things that don't matter to the story, but they are weird and silly and stupid. And if the rest of it doesn't distract you from that, then yeah, you start getting like lost in the, well, why is that like that? That's stupid. And I think the show does enough to overcome that.
I would agree. It leans into the racing aspect hard enough and long enough that it kind of deters from the lingering questions. What I can tell you is that basically they're supposed to be in the realm of basically 12 to about 18 or 19 years old. In the junior and senior years are supposed to be kind of like junior and senior high school. And I don't understand why Simbali Rudolph and Marozensky are on the student council when they're already retired. That's one thing that really doesn't make sense. But I feel because of the focus that it gives on the lead character, the races they're running, and who their chief rivals are, that I can overlook some of the less focused upon information at the end when it's all said and done.
Let's go back a little bit and start talking more from the earlier parts. We touched on the side characters a bit. Anyone have a favorite side character they wanna talk about?
I mean, I personally really enjoyed everything with Super Creek and her trainer, because her trainer just loves her so much. And when she's getting interviewed and all, she's like, oh no, all credit to my trainer. And every time she like praises her trainer, they do the animated arrows straight to the heart. And basically, like, if you play the game, Super Creek kind of portrays herself as like the mommy character, very nurturing, very, very sweet. And I just always enjoyed their dynamic. And I've used Super Creek a lot in the game, so she's kind of like a personal favorite of mine. But every time she popped up, I always found myself either laughing or smiling, just because she's such an endearing character.
I am going to steal Raggy's. I loved the twist for Obey Your Master. That was fantastic, because originally Obey Your Master gets under my skin. And when you can write a character that shifts and you can just play a little bit of the backstory, you don't need to take too much time, but you give enough of a backstory that you understood how the character came to be and why they wear this mask, chef's kiss. I thought the character design was intense but fascinating, and it all, like I said, was very, very fitting. So I think she was my favorite side character because she brought something more to the genre. And like Raggedy touched on with the mailbag question, she brought the America side of the Derby there. The Japan Cup was my hands down favorite race of Cinderella Gray.
Yeah, I liked. I think speaking of someone who does something a little different, Bell No Light is a fascinating character because it does give an answer to, well, what else can these horse girls do? And it's like, when you think about it, like, yeah, they would be great trainers because they know the they can do things that a normal person can't. So when she's doing that uphill experiment to try to recreate Ogre's running style to give her a strategy, like, that's something that only she could do, which is a cool thing they explore. I, though, really liked Dick the Striker. She was a lot of fun, very intense, but I liked how it was very related to the competition and how it kind of got turned on and off. There are early signs of her being able to do the zone that are like snuck in, and they're really good about sneaking things in earlier. There's a part in the Takarazuka Kinen when we first see Tamamo like win a race, where if you watch the race, it's not focused on her at all, and she ends up winning, right? And in a lesser show, you would never see her, and she would just appear and win. If you rewatch those sequences, she's always just out of sight. You can kind of see like half her body, or she's all the way towards the end of the shot, or she's like, when they're tracking one person, she's more towards the front. Like, she's always just kind of there. So if you know to look for her, you can see her like slowly starting to follow the race and then pass. So they're very clever with that kind of storytelling beats with the show. Andrew, did you have a character that you liked besides no one?
I think they were all fine. It does bring up the main issue I noticed with the show after a certain point is, I think, towards, or at least the second core, a lot of the second core barely focuses on Ogre Cap, I think. Like you said, she's always sort of in the background, but I think it's kind of interesting that, one, the season opens on Fujimasa March storyline, and then during the main I forget what race it is, you said she kind of showed
there's the Japan Cup, the one with the Americans.
Cup. Yeah, the Japan Cup. She's barely a part of that. It's almost as this whole thing is just waiting to get to the Arima Kinen, effectively. And even that part of the arc, she kind of has a little bit towards the end, but a lot of it doesn't focus on her in the second core, which is really interesting to me. It's not like she's like this really crazy dynamic character that I love. I think all the characters, and I think that's one of the things that makes all the other characters a little bit more than just, one-dimensional. Like, I feel like a lot of the side characters are fleshed out very well. But that's because they don't spend a lot of time with our main characters. Original main characters, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah, like you have Kitahara Joe, he comes in, like you think he's going to be the main like trainer character, like a major side character, and he's also barely in it. I like him a lot. I was a little sad when he isn't there more, but it makes sense and it fits with the story. The second season or second core, however you want to call it, does focus. It's a lot more Tamamo's story. She's definitely more the focus than Ogre is until the end when we start talking about the Arima Kennen and their rivalry. So I can see that being an issue, especially if you Ogre Cap's like your favorite character and that's who you want to follow, and then you start, it's like, well, this is not why I got into this show, is to watch someone else. So I can see that.
I mean, she's not my favorite. I don't know. I feel like it's a ensemble show, and I guess it's in a way, and they're all kind of fun. Nothing really stood out to me.
That's fair.
Other than the others, because they're all weird.
How do we feel about the sports aspect of this show? Because I think this does sports better than realistically any other sports anime, because my biggest issue with sports anime is, for the most part, you pretty much know who is going to win. And on top of that, every once in a while you'll get thrown like a oh, they lost episode, and usually you can kind of pick those out before they happen as you're watching it, if you're paying enough attention. In Ippo, it happened in Kuroko no Basket. It happens where it's like one or two times where the main character loses, but you can usually figure it out ahead of time. Because this is based on real life, other than maybe the Ari McKinnon, where that's what you're ending on, and even then I wasn't sure. Like, you truly don't know who's going to win any race.
Would agree. I think I went into it without really trying to look into what the real life horses did until after I finished everything. So Ogre Cap was very fallible, and she lost multiple times, and I think that definitely added to there truly being suspense. Like, I think you could always argue that one of your biggest issues with any anime outside of shonen or sports is the inevitable win by the protagonist. Like, they're gonna win eventually. This kind of left you hanging on your seat, like, I'm really not sure who's gonna win this or how. And I think that element of keeping you on your seat for the who's gonna win, it really does do it better than any anime that I can remember. And I think that's just part of its charm and allure.
Man, I'm on the fence. I do think this is the best women's sport
Well,
that we've gotten.
That goes without saying, I feel like.
Yeah. It's such a low bar, right?
It's oh my god, not Kaiji. Oh my god. Keijo, thank you. It's Keijo,
Yeah.
and then it's this, and that's about it.
And this, yeah. But the best sports anime, I think I struggle with it because I tend to like team aspects of sports anime, and this just isn't. And truly, this translates really well to track and field, but to translate to if somebody wanted to be a jockey, for example, like that's the part of the sport for horse racing that exists if you wanted to get into horse racing beyond just being an observer. So I have to noodle on that a little. What I will give it credit for is the zone. The zone is something that is experienced in this anime. It's something that I believe a lot of other athletes go through, and it was well explained. You didn't sit on it too long. Everyone had kind of a unique aura with their zone, and I really loved that we didn't dwell on it. We didn't give the Jujutsu Kaisen 5 minutes of explanation that I have to quickly read on the screen to figure out and discern their powers and how that's gonna work or whatnot. But I really have to like I said, I have to noodle on is this the best sports anime ever? I don't know.
I'm gonna come back to the zone thing in a sec, because I want Andrew's thought on the quality of this as a sports show.
It's a high tier sports show. I think I fall more in line with M in this, where I'm more of a team sports kind of person when I'm watching my sports anime. I do enjoy some good sports shows, but again, when you have things like Yuri on Ice and Keijo as well that exist, is it the best? It's definitely top tier. It's definitely top tier sports anime. But I don't even know if there is such a thing as the best sports anime. I think you could just hit a strata, and if you can get into that strata, you're just doing good as a sports anime. And I think this one gets into that upper strata.
Nice. As far as the zone, I mean, there's the talk about how the zones are portrayed in this, and I do really enjoy them. There are other entries into Umamusume that give us the zone without giving it a name, and that's clearly what they're doing. And now they kind of gave it the name, and they're showing an explanation behind it. But I know, Em, I know you've never seen Kuroko no Basket, right?
No, I have not.
Otaku, Andrew?
Oh, I've seen all of it.
Yeah. Did either of you get the same feeling when she almost says line for line, the only one who can, like, it's like basically almost line for line, the only one who can beat me is me, where the nicer version of that, obviously, whereas her goal is that, like, you know, I'm fighting against myself. And then as they were doing that, I'm just like, oh my God, they're going to do the zone. They're going to do, like, it just hit me before it even happened, because it was telegraphed from having that experience. And I was way more hyped than I had any right to be, just because of that. I do like the zone. I like how they portray it. I like the look. I like the animation for the zone, and I do really appreciate how, because from Kuroko no Basket, it's like they describe it like an ocean, like sinking into an ocean, whereas this is more like breaking through a wall. And they do a really good job with the, like, sprinkling it kind of throughout the show, where you see like the shadows in Ogre's eyes earlier on. You see the sparkles around Dick the Striker early on. You see these little, like, clues and hints beforehand. You see, even, I know M doesn't like the white lightning effect, but just the fact that she has that, like, effect come off, and you see it as like this aura that she's presenting herself in, and then you realize, oh, that's that manifestation of her zone that we're seeing as an observer.
Yeah, to go to that, just because you've now touched on it, I'm still trying to figure out why I didn't like the lightning. I do think it works when she's in the zone, but she is having that lightning effect when she's just greeting the audience. So it shows, like, oh, she's already in the zone. But the love of the zone that I have for it is, you are, you know, you're getting hyper fixated on one point, in this case on the race, and finishing it first, and fatigue sets in. Like, other things then take a hit, and so she's just standing there and exuding her aura / the zone. And I think it was just too shonen-y, maybe even in the sound, because of course they had to have lightning sounds coming off of her too, whereas other people, it was more subtle, either in noise, or it was more subtle in, you see a few sparks, you see that, like Ogre Cap's zone and aura is so much more appealing to me. I will say my favorite instance of breaking into the zone was Obey Your Master, when you see the eye come through and you see her one hand come through. Very Attack on Titan feeling, but it just felt Doom. And I loved that rivalry that was built solely in that moment.
Oh yeah, agreed. Anyone want to give some final anything we want to touch on that we've missed before we wrap up with our final thoughts and score?
I mean, I don't have anything crazy. I can just go into my final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to start us off,
Sorry, real quick. I kind of like the outfits. I usually think outfits are ridiculous. I don't know why these outfits work for me. They're touching that, maybe like the figure skater itch of, like, they're so ridiculous, but at least they're wearing relatively normal horse girl shoes. But it's always exciting to me to see what new outfit they're gonna come out with. I don't know why. That's all.
Styles on fleek.
That's right.
All right, Andrew, since you were about to give us your final thoughts, you can start us off.
Yeah, it's really simple. Uma Musume Pretty Derby and Uma Musume Cinderella Gray had a very similar feeling for me, is that I enjoyed the experience because it wasn't weird outside of the normal weird. And when I look back on, if I ever am gonna rewatch or watch more of these shows, I don't feel compelled to, if I'm being honest. Not because they were bad, they were not because they were so bad it was interesting. It was not because it was so good, it was just a good, solid show that I'll watch it if I have to, and I won't feel bad about it. But I don't think I'm gonna go seek it out, because I don't have the devotion that some people in this podcast have to this series, is how I'm going to put it. It was fun, honestly. Other than like the character stuff, like all the characters were pretty fine. I think I'm just gonna give this like 3.5 crazy supporter classroom friends at Tracing Academy out of 5.
Nice. Em, your thoughts, if you'd please.
Okay, I was writing them down. So I think this is a very good sports anime, and I think Andrew hit on all of the points that I was going to make, which is why I started to have to make notes here. But it was focused on being a sports anime first, a little bit of an idol anime thereafter, but primarily sport. And I think that's what makes it so appealing. It's not attracting the crowd of men looking for the half-naked horse girls, which I'm sure is a thing. I think it's a great shonen. I think it's one that people should watch. I don't know if I'm going to be seeking it out unless Otaku and Raggedy tell me, hey, there's a new season. I highly recommend it, just because there are other shows out there. But if it's given a recommendation like that, yes, I'll go and watch it then. I think it's revitalizing a sport that needs a younger audience. I have looked into that to see that the Japanese Cup and like other areas don't know what to do with it quite yet, but I think they should really be tapping into this because it's giving them the burst that they need. So that said, I am going to give this a high score of 4 carrots out of 5.
Very nice. Otaku.
Okay. So, being that I'm one of the 2 godfathers of the Uma Musume fandom in this podcast, I think one of the things that I really appreciate about this as being a true sports show is that it really does focus on the sport, the race, the finish, and what it takes to get there and win or almost win is the most important part of things. I think that the messages within the anime about surrounding yourself with a strong supporting cast, with believing in yourself. And the thing is, there was so many opportunities in this anime for the girls to be over sexualized, for things to get muddied, but they stuck the landing. They just focused on the sport. And I think you could even argue the only time that even something even remotely pervy happens is just when the trainers are admiring the legs of the horse girls, not because they're sexy legs, but they're like, oh, look at how muscular and toned. Like, this is going to be an amazing horse racer. So really anybody of any age can watch this. And so that appropriateness alone is great. And Emery brought up an amazing point about how, believe it or not, this dumb idle horse girl show has revitalized the horse racing industry. So much so that even stateside, the Breeders' Cup has a partnership with Uma Musume. There was an Uma Musume pop-up exhibit at the Kentucky Derby this year. They are penetrating every single aspect of horse racing, and they're not stopping. They're just getting more popular. So much so now that humans are cosplaying as their favorite horse girl and running live races. Like, this is a train that is picking up steam, and the franchise is not going anywhere. It's making money hand over fist. But if you want a show that you could really say, hey, there are positive female role models, strong female role models, and they're good, this is that show. And even if it's not about the sex of the character, if you're just focused on, do I want a good sports anime, this checks all of those boxes. So for me, it's not a perfect anime, but what I will say is it's damn near perfect. So I am going to give it 4.5 breakthroughs out of 5.
Awesome. As the other godfather of Uma Musume on the podcast, so to speak. when I'm comparing this to the other TV entries, this is the best out of all of them. It is a great starting point for anyone as well. You can jump on at Cinderella Gray. You really don't need to watch the others. They're good, but it's not required. The only thing that is better in this franchise is the movie. The movie is about as close to perfect as you can get, and I mean that's what happens when you can throw movie budget at something. The love and care that's taken with these characters, with trying to pull in the real world history, it's very well crafted. The production we've talked about is excellent. The one thing I don't think we've talked about enough, again, is the comedy. It is truly a very, very funny show across the board. There are tons of Easter eggs throughout for people to pick at and enjoy if they want to, but don't take away from it either, because sometimes that can certainly happen. This is easily one of the best sports shows made. I can't recommend it highly enough. I'm going to give it 4.5 Gooners who say, no, I'm watching it for the racing, I swear, out of 5. And with that, I think we can bring
What
this
does that average out to?
slightly over 4.25, because it's 3.5 plus 4.5, 4.4, so somewhere 4.25-ish. Something like that. I don't know. I can't read or do math. It's fine. But with that, you
can fix.
Ooh, you can.
I don't remember.
You did it.
I always get it
You
wrong.
It's all right.
You did it, Andrew.
Listen,
Yep.
Okay.
You're good.
And hips, legs, and hips.
We got there. And if you enjoyed the discussion, join us on the Discord, where Otaku and I will happily talk more Uma Musume with you. Join us in the after party if you're a Patreon to hear about our other thoughts. Join for our hobby addicts, so you have some fun stuff we're talking about for that as well. And beyond that, join in next week when we have, let's see, I don't remember who's on. I think it's Mitsugi, Andrew, and Caroline will be talking Jack of all trades, if I remember correctly.
Party of none.
Something like that. You know,
yes, Jack of all trades, party of none.
Yes. Or one of those fucking things, as I've come to call it. Anyway, everyone, thank you. My co-host, thank you. The people who are on Twitch, thank you. I can't type and run the show. I'm not there yet. I'll get there eventually, I promise. But we love you still. So everyone, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Spoilers are coming.
I keep playing the wrong song.